Hi again, everybody. Patrick McGrath from Amita Health, Foglia Family Foundation Residential Treatment Center, clinical psychologist here. And OCD is kind of my thing that I work with a lot of people on. So happy to be talking to you again today. Continuing on of what we've been reviewing are some basic OCD questions, down and dirty kinds of stuff. So got my list in front of me, so excuse me if I refer to it now and then, but I'm just going to be reading off some questions and making sure that I give you the answers that I think will be most helpful. The next one that came in was, how do you define a compulsion? And really with that, we're looking at a behavioral or a mental act that somebody does in response to an obsession or according to very rigid rules that they feel that they must apply to whatever it is they think they need to do. Now, why would we do a mental act or a behavior in response to an obsession? Because we somehow believe that that action will neutralize whatever it was that initially popped into our head. So if I had a thought about, let's say, harming my sister, then I might believe that I have to say a prayer to neutralize that bad thought, or else if I don't, then it A, might come true, or B, if something were to happen to her and I didn't do something to neutralize it, somehow that might be my fault and I would feel guilt or horrible or shame for the rest of my life because I didn't do the thing that I needed to do to have stopped that thing from happening. This is where I sometimes joke around a bit with people and talk about how OCD makes you believe you have superhuman magical powers, that you're touching a wall or something somehow prevents bad or awful things from happening, and you've been giving these powers to do these things by who knows how you got them, and yet you believe that you have them and that you must do them or else something bad will absolutely happen and it will totally be your fault. And wouldn't that be awful or horrible if one time you just happened to forget to do something and then that bad thing did happen and now you'll live with that guilt and shame for the rest of your life that you didn't do that thing to neutralize what it was that popped in your head. Or there's a belief that if we don't do those things, then maybe we actually like the thoughts or the images or the urges that popped in our head. And that would be awful or horrible too. So we want to make sure that we give no perception whatsoever that we like any of those things. So we must do what we can to get rid of them. And then also along with that is this idea that what I'm doing might not really be related to what it is that my intrusive thought is. So it could be a paired experience. Let's say that as I was getting out of my car and I closed the car door, I got a phone call that someone I'm good friends with fell down the stairs and broke their collarbone. It could be that as I was closing the door and I getting this message, I paired those two things together. And now my brain has decided that if I would have closed that car door the right way, then nothing bad would have happened. So it must be that I closed the car door the wrong way, and that's why that thing happened. So now tomorrow when I drive the car, when I get out of it, I'm going to really make a concerted effort to close the door the right way. And as I push it and it closes, maybe it didn't sound just right, or maybe I don't feel I used enough force to do it. So I might open it again and then push it closed again, and this time with more force or listening very in depth to make sure I hear the right sound of it closing. And I might do that 40 times before I finally feel satisfied that now I've done it right. So now that I've done it right, I'm not going to get any bad news that anything has happened to anybody I know or love because I've done this thing right, which I really wish I had done yesterday the right way, because then I wouldn't have got that phone call too. And I must have always closed the car door right before that, but yesterday I didn't. And now I really have to make sure that I do, again, close it correctly going forward for the rest of my life, or else I will potentially keep getting all these bad news phone calls from people, and I will be responsible. And wouldn't that just be awful or horrible? So the things that I want to do as a therapist working with people with OCD is I really want to investigate what are these compulsions? what are these neutralizations that people do? What are the behavioral acts that people perform? And what are these mental acts that they do too? So it's hard to observe, obviously, a mental act, and sometimes it even gets the nickname of pure O, as in pure obsessions. But that's really kind of a misnomer in the sense that it's not purely obsessions, it is compulsions too. The compulsions just aren't visible. They are going on in our head, and we are experiencing things like counting or praying or reviewing the experience over and over and over again, or having the discussion that we just had with someone over and over again to make sure that we didn't say something the wrong way, or we didn't say a blasphemous word or phrase in there, or something along those lines. And you might just look at someone and they might just be sitting there blankly, and you can't really tell what's going on, when in reality they are just running things over and over in their head so much that they're just stuck because they're deep in their brain and unable to kind of get out of that thought process that they're doing. Other things are very easy to see of the person who goes to wash things or clean things or touch things over and over, or keep doing something like checking the stove, going back again and again to make sure the stove's off, the refrigerator's shut, the doors are locked, the windows are locked, those types of things. There's even people who try to be really sneaky about it. I love the people who get in the car and then just as they're about to go say, oh, you know what, I really do have to go to the bathroom. Let me just go there. And then they go to the bathroom, they come back to the car, and just about to leave it, you know what, I forgot to bring a water bottle. So they go back and they get a water bottle. And then as they're about to, oh, you know, we should probably have a snack too. So they go back and they get a snack. And oh, you know what, maybe I might not have locked the door that time. So then they go back again. And there's all these excuses to keep going back and to keep checking to make sure that everything is okay. So if you look at that combination of, I have this obsession, which is this intrusive thought or image or urge, and I don't like it. It's not me. We sometimes refer to it as ego-dystonic, meaning that I don't really want this thought or image or urge, and I don't like this image or thought or urge, and I want it to go away. And so the best way to make it go away would be to either neutralize it or do an act that would counter it. And then in doing that, guess what we do? We feel good. We feel satisfied. We feel like I have done something now to prevent that thing from happening. And now I will not be responsible if that thing were to occur. And boy, doesn't that feel nice now that I've done that. Now that nice feeling might last for sometimes maybe 2 seconds. It could last for even an hour. But for some people, and what people often see is the longer their OCD goes untreated, the less relief they actually get from doing the compulsion. So what do they have to do? They have to do it again and again and again, and they keep having to do it over and over again. So there's this constant search for immediately gratifying experiences without being able to sit with the discomfort and learn that they can handle that experience in the long term. Now, anyone with OCD will come up with any excuse that they possibly can as to why doing what they're doing makes sense and it works and it should be continued. We, as therapists of OCD, have heard most, if not every one of these excuses already, and we do call bull on them as much as we possibly can, because we know that it's just the OCD kind of ploy to make sure that we don't screw up anything and that the OCD gets what it wants. Now, in some further questions we're going to go over here, I'm going to talk about exactly some of the ways that OCD tries to do some of these things to trick you and to trick other people. And we'll also take a look at some of the subtypes of OCD as well. So thanks for listening.